All right, good morning. Why don't we get started here? On behalf of NECS, I wanted to thank all of you for attending this webinar on navigating security in our new hybrid world. We have the pleasure today of one of our stronger partners, HP, on board. I have Laura Brady from HP, and I also have Jason Copa from HP. Laura will be talking more about technology and security and how it relates to our new hybrid world for those of us that are working in offices and some working remotely like I am right now. It's still important to make sure that security extends all the way to where you are in your remote location. And when she's completed her piece, she's then going to hand off to Jason Copa, who will talk more about the laptop and PC equipment that, again, is extremely important as it relates to the security and how you print, copy, and send information not only to yourselves, but back throughout the company. So this is just one in the series of webinars that NECS will be performing to help you guys, customers, understand some of the options that are out there, some of the pitfalls that are out there, and help you better be prepared for the new world that we're all adjusting to. So without further ado, I'm going to hand off to Laura Brady from HP, and she will take you through our new hybrid world. Thanks, Laura.
Awesome. Thanks, Don. Are you seeing my screen properly? Just checking.
Or maybe you should just take a roll call, make sure everybody can see your screen. If anybody can't, please take yourself off mute and let us know if you can't see it. But we'll assume if we haven't heard anything that you can see okay.
Okay. Well, great. I'm not seeing or hearing anybody, so we're going to assume all systems are go here. So thanks for the introduction, Don, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about this really relevant topic as we kind of navigate where we are almost 2 years into this pandemic. And I don't know about you, I kind of relate to this picture, you know, working from home with your dog by your side. I'll apologize in advance. Lots of delivery drivers out today, so the dogs could be barking. So I'll try and hopefully keep that to a minimum, but I appreciate the opportunity to kind of talk about where we are today, as it relates to security and some of the things that NECS and HP can do together to help mitigate some of the threats out there in the world. So to kick this off, I'm going to start with a really quick video for anybody who's seen this series before. We introduced a new one this year, directly related around the hybrid workspace. It actually stars Christian Slater. And I'm going to go ahead and start this video, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this.
Knock, knock. Who's there? It's your old friend, the wolf. A lot has happened since we last spoke. Mom's home, Dad's home, little Russell's home.
Hey, Russ, that's enough for today. I need my computer to finish up some work.
Mom, I'm on the last level.
And they have no idea that I've already invited myself in.
Rookie mistake. Should have used the Omega Defense Shield, kid. Should be outside playing ball anyway. Housebound kids like my friend Russell here are getting in a lot of screen time lately. Hackers have taken notice. The more time they spend on mom or dad's work laptop, bigger targets they become. Unprotected machines like this one are ripe for random phishing attacks, just like the fake email I'm about to send young Russell. All it takes is just one click. Before you know it, I've worked myself right into the Porter family network. Oh. The fortune companies spend on fancy network protection for their offices is of little use if no one is there.
If Mom's company had given her the HP Elite Dragonfly with Wolf security, my attack would be dead on arrival.
Guys, dinner's ready!
Right on cue.
Looks like I'll be staying for dinner.
Let's regroup on Monday and have the rest of the team join us later on in the week when we have things buttoned up.
Working from home has its pros, but also has its cons. One being the threat of cyber attack on machines like that beauty over there. If Alice had an HP printer with Wolf Enterprise security,
It would have stopped me in my tracks.
printers like these make for the perfect hiding place on the network.
All I have to do is wait here until Alice points me to my next target.
Got it. I'll get it out to the team right now.
That's right. Come to Papa. Oh, look, it's Alice from HR. Nothing suspicious there. Just like everyone else who got her email.
Mr. CTO just fell for my Alice impersonation.
A guy like me, given the keys to the kingdom, what's the worst that could happen? This place used to be the picture of commerce, but now that everybody's working from home, it's a ghost town. 4! Little do they know, one of their colleagues just blasted out a file to the entire company without realizing yours truly was hiding inside. Now that I'm in, it's time to have some fun.
Who's first? Hey, Jerry from finance. And just like that, I bricked every employee's device, rendering each of their computers and tablets useless.
Let's check in on the IT team, see how they're handling the news, shall we?
Oh, not again.
What now?
Another virtual happy hour.
Oops, I must have left them off my list.
These poor folks. No advanced AI tools to identify incoming threats, no real-time data evaluation. Without a partner to help them think it all through, they're left to fend for themselves.
My computer just crashed and I can't get a hold of anyone at the office. What am I supposed to do? The deadline is tonight, Paul.
Okay, I may or may not have also shut off the phones in the office, because why not?
Why do you think I'm calling? I need you to get down to the office and fix this.
If they'd had HP Wolf Security Services, AI would have sniffed out my attack before it snuck in through the back door. Just ask little Russell.
One bad click and it can all come crashing down. As if the world wasn't a scary enough place already. Don't forget the bad guys are also working from home. Wasn't it time you had security that does too?
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes on the hillside, little boxes.
Okay. So I think he does a nice job of setting the stage for us in terms of where we all are in now, where IT prior to the pandemic, could put in all the protections and all the firewalls and everything inside the four walls of a corporate network. But now that a lot of us are working in our homes, that extended reach of the IT department is not necessarily there. So there's some definite things that we can do to help thwart that. Important to note, and one of the things that a company called Firma noticed, that as the pandemic began to spread across the world, the increase of cyber threats went up 400%. So the threat map below shows that, and there's a link which you can get copies of these slides if you like to actually see where and how these particular cyber threats happened. But the key is that endpoint security is more important than ever. And an endpoint is basically anything that is hanging off of a network is an endpoint. So whether it's a PC, whether it's a printer, and because of that, a remote workforce leads to these more vulnerabilities. And like I've said, the number's 400% increase of cyber crimes since COVID began. Endpoints are critical because 70% of successful breaches start with an endpoint. And usually, just like Christian Slater said, when he sent the malware while the kid was playing on mom's laptop, just one click. Endpoint breaches start with a user click, whether it's email, web, chat, 99% of them caused by an end user. So it's really important to be vigilant in terms of what you're clicking, what appears to be authentic may not be, and it's really important to understand. So we've got some kind of tips and tricks here for you as you are working from home. Be a security warrior. Don't fall for that clickbait. I started getting a lot more chats and a lot more texts to my cell phone that look legit, but you don't want to just go for it. You want to really vet that. Check to see if someone is trying to reach out for you. One of the things you can do in an email is hover over with your mouse the sender or the link. Don't click on it, just hover over it. And in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you should see the URL where it's trying to take you as you hover over a link. So just be aware of who's trying to reach you. Some of that gets caught in your spam filter, but not all of it. So make sure you don't fall for it. Be aware that's also social media is populated with a lot of bad actors. So stay vigilant there as well. Know what you have. There are many Internet of Things or smart devices out there. Take inventory of what you have and what's on your home network. One of the things in my home that I've done is not only make sure I have a unique password on my router, but I've also segmented my network. So I've made sure that my work PC, my work MFP are on separate networks from my Roomba, from my Roku devices, from the other devices that I have inside my home are actually segmented on a separate network that have a different password to access. And make sure you have these strong, unique passwords. If you can use two-factor authentication, that's always a good way to go. Ensure everything has current firmware patching, and disable anything that's not necessary, any open ports and protocols that you're not using. Secure your sensitive data. I'm going to talk a little bit about print, but one of the things that our universal print driver, whether you're using it in the office or your house, you can actually have all of your print jobs securely encrypted from the time they leave your PC to the time they get to the printer, completely encrypted. So that's one helpful tip you can use. If a printer is shared, you can use PIN and password release, when you're in the office. Lock, sign out your PC. So when you're not in front of it, nobody else can log onto it. Use a VPN. I use a VPN for work, but I also use one on my phone. Norton has a great one. So you can absolutely have a VPN when you're communicating on your phone, and always a good practice to back up your data. Talked about this a little bit, but when you're at home, separate your office from your Internet of Things devices. So I talked about at my home, the Roku and the Roomba being on a separate network from where my PC and my printers are. But just think about all the things that we have connected to our home networks today: Ring, Alexa devices, Fire Sticks, Google Homes. Think about putting all of that stuff on your home network onto a separate network. You can get certain products like hives that you can put around your home to basically separate your network, and it's pretty easy to do. Make sure that your hardware is protected, to your corporate standards. Make sure any hard drives that you're using are using encryption as well. So we can get this slide to you. It's got some really nice links in here that you can click on to really give you some more helpful tips and tricks to just be more cyber aware, to have good cyber hygiene, and how to make sure that you're up to date on the most effective security links out there. So we'll make sure that you get a copy of this. This is also, as we've seen, we all live in this Zoom world now, or GoToMeeting, or whatever platform you're using, Microsoft Teams. Really key, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, actually put out this bulletin and how you navigate secure conference calls, and some of the really key tips that you can prevent people from eavesdropping and protecting your privacy meetings. You know, there have been in the news, I think less and less, because I think people have gotten more aware of some of the risks, but some of the keys to, you know, having a waiting room, letting people in, knowing your audience, keeping your passwords for these particular meetings protected so that you don't have unwanted people coming in and trying to either overtake your meeting or post inappropriate content on your meeting. So what are the things that you can do from a print perspective? I'm going to talk about the print angle, and Jason is going to talk about the PC angle, but there's a couple of different things that you can do from the print space. One key thing to just kind of acknowledge is that hybrid is the norm. It says it will become the norm. It pretty much has become the norm. 83% of employers say the shift to remote work has been successful, and that the role of the office is going to change to more of a collaboration space. So we really have to now, and when we think about the office, not just think about the four walls of the building, but also how it extends out to people working remotely. So the COVID-19 experiment, you know, it was in real time, and everybody just kind of went home and started working. And, you know, some of the things that we've learned over the past couple of years is, you know, what's important, and really the employee experience in terms of helping them feel valued and connected, having the right tools and automating processes, and then how you can work effectively anywhere and anytime. So one of the other big things when we go into that tools and processes area is the shift to cloud. You know, really changing the way offices compute, and really the way offices scan and share data and print. HP had to accelerate some of our tools that we have to enable you from home now to be able to scan into, say, a cloud repository like OneDrive or Google if you're a Google shop, or Dropbox, some of the other big cloud repositories. So we've made connectors now that are available. We have ways for you to print to the cloud and then release when you get to the office. So there's a whole bunch of different cloud offerings that required us to shift. You know, we've heard about digital transformation for a couple of years. Well, COVID really shifted us there a little faster, I think, than any of us thought we were going to go. So when we respondents were surveyed about the workforce and the workplace in this new hybrid world, you know, needing more IT components to complete daily tasks. You know, home offices weren't equipped to work the way initially, the way you worked in the office. Obviously more outside of the corporate network, and not having uniformity and guidance. You know, a lot of people had the technology at home that they had, and not necessarily the most secure or have the best features for the kind of work that they're trying to do. So NECS and HP can basically help deliver on helping your hybrid workforce become as effective as possible. So not only from a security standpoint, but also a productivity standpoint. So we are now focusing on our strategy as a company on hybrid working as it's becoming the new norm. We have ways of helping you protect and secure that information, again, whether it lives in the office or whether it lives in someone's home office. And we've got a suite of solutions based on business requirements, based on the type of worker. So we've got, like I said, apps that connect to the cloud. We've got mobile print options. We've got a bunch of different kind of options that are all secure, that all deliver the same kind of experience when you're in your office, now in your home. So the type of security that Christian Slater showed, that MFP device sitting in that person's home, we now have the same kind of protections in some of our home devices that that are now in the enterprise devices that people are used to. So I'm just going to talk a quick minute about what makes our printers different, and anything that is an enterprise device. And I'm sure if you have them in your office, you don't even think about the kind of security that's built in, but now we've got them in a 400 series home device. So the same type of protection in your corporate office, in your home office. So we built in 4 different protections, and I'm just going to draw out this slide to kind of talk about them. Is basically, this is not anything you have to add on. When you buy an HP device, you get the world's most secure printing because we've taken our intelligence from the PC world that Jason's going to talk about, and we've put them into our print devices. Some of those things are runtime intrusion detection. Like, think about that as anti-malware or antivirus protection for your printer. So if your printer gets malware embedded in a job, it's immediately going to stop. It's going to put the machine in what we call sure start mode and shut itself down and reboot from a golden copy of the BIOS. So number one, not only does it not allow that malware to go anywhere else but the printer, but it flushes it out and reboots the printer so the printer is fresh. It also looks at anything that anybody's trying to load on the printer, whether it be firmware, whether it be a file coming in via the USB port. It will whitelist what it will and won't allow onto the device. So that's a protection that's built in as well. And then we also have something called Connection Inspector that's looking for that outbound call, for that ransomware call, for a way that your printer or MFP should not be behaving. It's looking for those anomalies in that behavior. And if it suspects that your machine is connecting outside of the network or somewhere that it's not supposed to go, it's going to shut itself down and put itself in a sure start mode. So these 4 features are built into anything that HP puts enterprise in the name. And like I said, we've now got that down in home-based devices in our 400 series that have all the same firmware, all the same capabilities built in. And the key is they can self-heal. So they will detect anything that's going on and then be able to reboot and clean out anything that's trying to infiltrate the device and be able to go on with your work. So I wanted to make sure you really understood that HP leads out in this space, in the hardware space, for building these kind of features in, and it really sets us apart from the competition. Okay, so before I turn it over to Jason, and I don't know if you guys have the ability to unmute, but we do have a Q&A bar in the Zoom window or in the chat window if anybody has any questions about anything that I've covered before I turn this over to Jason.
They can actually raise their hands, and I think we can unmute them if they raise their hands.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's the Zoom world, Laura.
There you go. I wasn't sure in this webinar that we're doing what kind of controls we had, but thank you for setting me straight there, Jason. All right. I'm not seeing anything come up. So what I'm going to do is turn this over to Jason and stop sharing my screen.
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
That's you started screen sharing.
Okay. And
Yep.
is a screen actually sharing?
Yep, we got you.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Laura. So as Laura, obviously, we have a phenomenal partnership with NECS, and like in their tagline, total office solution provider, it's not just the great print solutions that we're able to deliver together. It's HP's world-class PCs and world-class PC protocols. And I'm going to dive into a little bit of that today. HP Wolf Security, this kind of rebrand around our entire endpoint we've really focused on developing a portfolio of just hardware enforced, resilient endpoint security influenced by zero trust architecture. And you're going to hear resilient as a real common theme throughout what we're doing here. Now, obviously, over the past year, and Laura touched on it a lot, but we've endured, just a handful of challenges, I guess we'll say. But mainly, when you think about it from an IT perspective, all of the IT professionals that are on this call and that we're all working with, you had to turn on a hybrid work model overnight. And usually that takes months or years. And this shift, it happened so fast, it just opened the door to a lot of vulnerabilities that no one really was able to build and plan for. We just kind of had patchwork and Band-Aid together. And, we've seen an increase in firmware attacks, ransomware attacks, and just a complete evolution of malware that I don't think any of us really could have predicted from a few years ago. And this massive undertaking, these new issues that have kind of come on at such a rapid pace, I'm sure a lot of you are sort of sitting here looking for a one-stop company and solution provider to kind of simplify your life and secure your workforce. Now, as Laura kind of highlighted, downtime from attacks, they can absolutely destroy a bottom line. And it's a significant impact. I mean, a wiper attack, for example, the NotPetya attacks that we started to see come out in 2017, they can damage a PC to the point that IT has to physically touch a unit to get it running again. That can be a little bit tough in this distributed workforce where not everyone's down the hall from IT and everyone tends to be remote. Now, NotPetya alone, $10 billion in total cost, but more importantly, it impacted companies about 4 to 7% of their bottom line, even after the attacks. So knowing that it's a matter of when, not if, an attack like this is going to happen, the question that I would ask you to all ask yourselves is, how long would you need to recover your entire PC fleet? Not the devices in your office, but everything that you have abroad. And that's where HP Wolf Security has you covered with a fast and efficient way to reimage machines and quickly recover from attack like NotPetya that we saw. Now, the bad news, obviously, the future of new malware is here. And, after a lot of research that we, kind of demonstrated the efficacy of, BIOS level rootkit attacks that were possible, really in these past few years, we've seen that they were actually being used like NotPetya and like Mosaic, LoJax, and a few other ones that we've seen come out. And these BIOS rootkit attacks are a little bit more of a concern because they're difficult to detect. Your standard antivirus protections aren't going to find BIOS infections because anything that's installed above your operating system isn't going to be looking that low. These attacks are powerful. Hackers can get access to a near total control of an affected PC. And these things are hard to remove. Once an attack occurs, it's very hard to remove them from an endpoint device. And now that this malware is out in the wild, more advanced variants are just inevitable. Now, the good news here is if you're talking to me or watching this on an HP machine, you're ready for it. These HP Wolf security devices that feature HP Sure Start, like Laura called out, we are able to detect and repair unauthorized modification of these BIOS level attacks. Just like Laura talked about, the stuff that's in our world-class security positions in our printers came from what we've been doing over here in PC. So everything that we've done has been researched over a very long period of time. And endpoint security, not a new concept for us over here at HP. We've been doing this for 2 decades. We build our own BIOS. We don't purchase third party. So all of these features that you see here with the numbers next to them on this screen, those numbers are there just to kind of call out that we own the patents and the intellectual property on all of these features. This is an HP specific security position. And, as you see, we try to grow that security position every single year. In 2021, with this Wolf Security endpoint focus, we have really tried to secure endpoints against these evolving modern threats, right? And so instead of just the simple things like we talked about with SureView and Sure Start and everything that we're doing, we're now leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence in ways to prevent against these zero-day malware attacks. Now, when we talk about resilience, right, kind of like planning for a ski vacation where you're not sure what the weather's going to be or the base or anything like that. I figure since we're in New England, this is a safe reference that I can use. But, in this case, cyber threats that are both known and unknown, you really need to be asking yourself these 3 questions. Like I called out earlier, how long would it take for you to recover your fleet of PCs? How do you protect against malware you've never seen before? And how do you know when your fleet is under attack? do you guys have systems in place, or do you have hardware in place that can automate a lot of these things for you and give you that kind of confidence moving forward? And to be resilient, you need to be able to protect, detect, and recover. And that word resilience, it's becoming very important in security. Resilience is about realizing that there is a potential that your security defenses will be compromised and having a plan in place for how you're going to recover. A lot of ransomware victims always, learn the hard way. And I think a lot of people, if they take an honest look at themselves and their company, it's really tough to get up and running up to 24 hours or be capable of getting up and running in 24 hours after you get hit with a cyber attack. And so when we talk about designing a company for cyber resiliency, we mean planning for the worst and then ensuring that you guys are able to recover from that attack and get yourselves back up and running in short order. So when we talk about zero trust security and zero trust principles, we're talking about a security position that we've, essentially built with hardware enforced resiliency. That means that we're providing an always on trusted foundation that's constantly monitoring and self-healing when you're faced with an attack. And we layer our protection. So we don't just say, yeah, we're good. We work at proactively protecting ourselves from attacks below, in, and above the operating system, and specifically working on threats that target your device, your data, and your identity. And when you look at the HP endpoint security portfolio, where we differ is most of our security features are built in. The Wolf Security for Business and the Pro Edition, those are really just ways to call out these features that I'm kind of outlining, but these are standard on the PCs that you can purchase through NECS, our Pro, Elite, and our Z line of products. And really, what we really like to focus on is in this Elite and Z space, we have these upper level machine learning and AI abilities to prevent some of these zero-day attacks. But on top of that, it's not just about built-in security. We have add-ons for services that NECS can still provide, where if you have a lower level PC and maybe you need some more above the box managed services to help your security protocol, we can have these levels of conversations with you as well. Now, when we talk about this stack about device identity and data protection in, above, and below the operating system, I'm sure this slide, probably looks familiar to a lot of you, so I'm not going to totally, pull you into the weeds, but I just want to call out a couple of things that we've changed in 2021 and some new upgrades that we've provided. HP Tamper Lock is new this year. It's protection from physical intrusion, including, tampering with various components of a notebook or a PC. Sure Admin is new. It's continuing to advance a cryptographically secure BIOS management solution that we've really been working towards in the last few years. And Sure Recover. Sure Recover has been one of the bases for HP's below OS BIOS protection. Sure Recover now with embedded reimaging, it's kind of ideal for this distributed workforce. It's corporate image ready, meaning that you can set up HP Sure Recover with your corporate image. And even when your end user footprint is distributed across a large geography, you'll be able to automatically recover with that corporate image, not just the HP factory image. So these are just a couple of things that we've called out over the past few years that we're able to bring to market now. And when we talk about that resilient firmware security piece, specifically below the operating system, think about it along the lines of, if you're hit with LoJacks and you're kind of afraid that it might happen again, if we detect firmware deviation, like what Laura was talking about with runtime intrusion and whitelisting, HP SureStart is going to quarantine the entire BIOS, replace it with that golden copy, and pull it from the endpoint security controller, so that you're actually getting right back to the best, most pure copy of your BIOS. So any of those attacks, like Christian Slater called out in the Wolf video, they get stopped right on intrusion. Laura called out NIST a lot. We're one of the only hardware manufacturers that can boast that our platform firmware beats 800.147 and 800.193 firmware and BIOS standards, which is a very high level of security. If you don't feel like reading too long into the weeds on it, just know that this tends to be the highest level of security that you can really offer from a hardware point. And again, a lot of this is just around minimizing downtime and maximizing productivity. So ensuring that along with that plan, that we have efficient ways both in bare metal and in the cloud. So I know, Laura kind of called out a lot around this growth and this migration over to the cloud, our hardware is built to kind of live and recover in this distributed environment. And when we're talking about, physical intrusion detection capabilities, we're talking about, DMA attacks. So DMA means direct memory access. So Laura kind of called it out on what we do in the printers, where, flash storage, a network card, and, all of these different ways that someone can directly access the memory on your PC. HP is designed and built products around these DMA attacks in a way that our competition simply can't, because again, we've been engineering this and working on this for the past 2 decades. So a lot of these patents and intellectual property rights are ours and ours alone. So when you're thinking about, what are we going to do to be able to stop some of these, maybe what feels like fear-mongering level attacks? Well, HP is the only company out there that's really looking at, this cybersecurity program from all angles. And from a layered security perspective, in and above the operating system, outside of that BIOS, HP SureClick exists in a way to isolate our secure browser and secure virtual containers. And what I mean by that is when you open, potentially a dirty file, or you go to a website that maybe you shouldn't, HP SureClick operates a whole bunch of mini virtual machines on your PC so that if they get cryptolocked, if they get infected with malware, all you have to do is X out the box and it goes away. I won't pull you all the way into the weeds there, but one thing that I want to make sure that I call out that really is kind of the biggest thing in this new fight against, this zero-day malware, if you will, is HP SureSense. And what HP SureSense is, it prevents never-before-seen malware by harnessing the power of machine learning and AI. So SureSense, it's a comprehensive NGAV. And it's probably one of the leading solutions in this space in the market. We introduced it last year. And really, it's just, looking at mature behavioral analysis, deep learning, and then broader techniques based on static analysis. That's really a mouthful to say that we're taking your, Norton antivirus and the typical whitelisting that we have that says you can't allow these, but you can allow these, and taking it to the next level where your PC is actually looking at the behavior of files and you to try and understand if a file that they haven't seen before is safe or is dangerous. And so that's really what we look at when we say, what's the next level of malware protection? And it's being able to protect against malware that we've never seen before. Now, just to be respectful for everyone's time, I don't want to pull everyone continually into the weeds, because also I'm sure, unless you're a nerd like myself, this isn't going to excite you. So what I will say is we're going to distribute these decks to you guys so you can kind of pull it in at your own pace. And if you'd love to have a deeper conversation, I'd be more than happy to jump on with you guys and talk about some of our security features and where we're able to protect. But the one thing that I do want to make sure that I'm calling out is that all these security features that we're talking about are available on products that NECS can bring to you tomorrow. And that's things like our Elite Dragonfly, like I've got up on the screen here, Sharp device, entirely made of magnesium. So it's under 2.2 pounds. Also, it's the world's first notebook with ocean-bound plastic material. So 50% of the keys, 70% of the speaker, and another 60% of all the plastic components inside of this device. It's actually the device that I'm talking to you on today, are available in this PC. Also, the Firefly ZBook G7, the smallest and lightest mobile workstation in the world. All the power of a workstation in a 3-pound case. So again, something that NECS can deliver to you that has all of these security features embedded on it. And I do just kind of want to wrap the PC piece, is just making sure I think it's clear how these questions sort of, enable you if you're on the HP Wolf security. How long would it take you to recover your entire PC fleet? Well, in as little as 5 minutes if you've got HP Sure Recover with embedded reimaging. How do you protect against malware you've never seen before? It's layered protections, things like SureSense and that deep learning that we talked about. And then how do you know when your fleet is under attack? The manageability with HP Wolf Pro Security and Wolf Pro Enterprise Security are all solutions that we can deliver to you through NECS. And we just want to make sure that we're equipping you guys with the best in endpoint resiliency and protection. So making sure, to kind of hammer home this point that HP, we really feel like not only do we make the world's most manageable PCs, but we make the absolute most secure. We really try to enable our end users to have PCs that self-heal from the firmware up, and just, again, using that machine learning and deep AI to catch these zero-day attacks. And the one thing that we always want to leave you with is every PC purchase that you make is a security decision, and it's not a decision that you should be taking lightly. So that's something where I'd say, if you have questions about this, any of our PC solutions and how we can help, deliver kind of this complete peace of mind through NECS, please get me on a call. I'd be more than happy to kind of take you into a deeper dive. And that's everything for me. Any questions from anybody out there?
Jason, I've got one for you. I know certainly I think the lighter lap PCs are something that folks like myself are looking at. Are you noticing people are shifting to the combo units that are not only PCs, but also like a tablet so you can touch the screen and move things around? Are you seeing more of a demand for that, or are they staying more traditional?
It really depends on the use case. I mean, a lot of us have just kind of seen, the Dragonfly and the Firefly that I called out, they all have that X360 capability where it can fold in half and where it becomes a tablet. Some people, it all really depends. And this is the nice thing with HP and the stuff, obviously, Don, that, you can deliver for your customers, is we really have something for everyone. For your customers that are maybe more mobile and they're here, there, and everywhere, planes, trains, and automobiles, maybe they want that capability. For your, distributed workforce that's just, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm using a docking station to, display what's on my PC on a few different monitors. Maybe it's your traditional clamshell. But the important thing there, I think, is just to hammer home this point that whether you've got the clamshell, whether you've got the tablet, it's really to kind of point out that everything is at the same level of security, no matter how tech it may seem from the outside.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I see one in the Q&A. Security, it sounds like all the security features that you have talked about run from a booting up a device and con time running in the background. Is that a good understanding? Yeah, so pretty much, and not to go into a full deep dive on it, but a lot of HP security features, they come from what's called the endpoint security controller. It's literally soldered onto the motherboard, but in a place that none of us have ever seen. HP keeps all of that stuff very lock and key. And so what is in that endpoint security controller, it's only accessed by official HP factory update codes. So it's a one-way out system. So say your entire device, just like with the printers, gets corrupted by like a non-Petya attack that comes in and tries to worm into the BIOS. Constantly in the background, our endpoint security controller is scanning all of the EXE codes in that BIOS to see if there's one thing in there that isn't supposed to be in there. If there's one thing that's trying to execute that isn't on the approved factory list of checked off, whitelisted running EXE codes, then what's going to happen is the device is actually going to lock down. It's going to restart in its safe boot mode, and it's going to pull that golden copy of the BIOS, the last approved factory or corporate imaged update, and one way pull that copy back to the last factory update, washing away every potentially malicious file that had come into play after that. I hope that answers it. So yes, I would say that's a pretty good understanding based on your question. But again, if you've got any further questions and you want a deeper dive, more than happy to kind of take you down the rabbit hole. All right, I think that's
Any other questions for Jason?
And again, Don and NECS have the bat phone, so any questions, I'm more than happy to jump on and kind of walk you through something that might be a little more pertinent to your individual environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'd be happy if you would like to work with your sales rep. We can connect with our sales rep and get Jason all together on a Zoom call or in person, whatever we need to do to help you. One last thing we wanted to mention, if you're noticing now on the screen, we're showing you NECS has opened its own e-commerce site. And if you notice at the bottom there, the starting point is shop@necs.com. In this site, we've loaded a number of the MFP, HP MFP solutions that Laura spoke of. Also on there, there's a lot of the PC solutions that Jason spoke of. What we try to do here to make it easier on you from an end user standpoint, step one is to take a very brief quiz. We're not asking a lot of questions, but just more to send us in the direction of, honing down the number of products that HP has that make the most sense to what your application is. And then from there, you have the ability to create the bundle that best suits your needs from an application standpoint and a needs standpoint. You can combine MFP and PC, and you can choose the bundle that best suits your needs. And again, we're here to help you in any way we can, whether it be from the sales rep standpoint. We have a business development team that can help as well. You can reach out to chat. NECS is here to support you. And again, we want to bring information like this to you today and others like this to kind of help educate you to the different things that are out there in the industry, so you're better prepared to make the best decision for you and your company. So at this point, I'll open it for a quick second, see if anybody has any final questions before we call it a wrap today. But again, I thank both folks from HP for being with us today. Lauren, Jason did a great job. And I hope those of you online did pick up some information. And again, if you don't want to ask a question now, if you'd like to ask your rep later or reach out to us via email, we're all ears. We're just here to help you in any way we can. Thanks, everybody. Have a great remainder to your day. Happy holidays. Happy New Year to all of you. And again, we look forward to working with you and helping you here at NECS with HP's help in any way we can. Thanks again and have a great day.